These episodes were so disturbing, they had to be erased. We have dragged the official records from their watery graves and listened to the secret stories from inside the studio to build the definitive case file on the censored, secret history of SpongeBob SquarePants. We will now unseal these files and expose the chilling truth. But before we begin, if you want to see more content like this, remember to like and subscribe. Number 5. SpongeBob and Random Land. Our first descent into the abyss takes us to a more recent time, to the chaotic world of Season 12. The episode is called SpongeBob and Random Land. On the surface, it's a simple story. SpongeBob and Squidward have a delivery to make, but they end up in a bizarre dimension where the rules of reality are shattered. It's a land of nonsense, a place where doors open into worlds of pure madness. And on one delivery, Squidward, our forever grumpy neighbor, opened a door that unleashed a nightmare. For a single soul-shaking second, the screen was filled with an image so terrifying it had no business being in a show for children. It was a face known across the darkest corners of the internet, Red Mist Squidward. Let me be clear, this was not a funny, silly cartoon face. This was a monster pulled from a gruesome online horror story. For those who don't know, there is a famous and twisted tale called a creepypasta. A scary story born on the internet called Squidward's Suicide. This fake, lost episode story describes Squidward falling into a deep sadness and taking his own life. The most famous part of this horrific tale is a single, haunting image of the squid, drawn with disturbingly realistic, bloody red eyes filled with pain that words cannot describe. The artists of SpongeBob SquarePants, in a move that still baffles and disturbs us, deliberately put this exact image into their children's cartoon. It was an inside joke of the cruelest kind. And what happens when a children's cartoon crosses a line no adult would ever dare? Number 4. Midlife Crustacean. Let us travel back in time to the show's golden age, Season 3. Here we find an episode so deeply and fundamentally wrong that it was eventually sentenced to life in a digital prison, never to be seen on most official platforms again. The episode was Midlife Crustacean. Mr. Krabs, the greedy but sometimes lovable crab, is feeling old and washed up. He's miserable, convinced his best days are behind him. To feel young and exciting again, he decides to spend a night with SpongeBob and Patrick, hoping for wild, youthful fun. The night starts with silly, harmless games, but it takes a dark turn. Patrick, in his infinite foolishness, suggests the ultimate thrill for a wild night out: a panty raid. Think about that for a moment. A popular children's show is building a plot around breaking into a woman's home to steal her underwear. The very idea is creepy and wrong. It presents a real crime not as something to be punished, but as a fun, exciting game for boys to play. The story gets even more uncomfortable when the trio breaks into a house and we discover it belongs to Mr. Krabs' own mother. The scene was supposed to be funny. Mr. Krabs getting caught by his mommy, instead feels gross and invasive. For many years, this deeply strange episode aired without anyone seeming to notice or care. But times changed. People started looking closer at the messages in the shows their kids were watching. In 2018, the network finally woke up. They reviewed the episode and declared that the panty raid scene was not kid appropriate. The next episode nearly got someone eliminated, and no one even noticed until it was too late. Number 3. Just One Bite. Also in Season 3, we find a classic episode, Just One Bite, which holds a dark and dangerous secret. Most of us remember this episode for Squidward's hilarious journey from hating Krabby Patties to being desperately obsessed with them. But the original version contained a scene so dangerous it had to be completely extinguished. In the original cut, a desperate Squidward tries to break into the Krusty Krab after it closes to get more patties. In his clumsy attempt, he sets off the restaurant's security system. A bucket falls and dumps a clear liquid all over him. He sniffs the air and realizes with horror what it is: gasoline. A second later, a robot arm lowers from the ceiling, strikes a match, and sets him on fire. He screams, puts himself out, and then the system does it again, this time with an even bigger explosion. The real-world danger of this scene was enormous. The episode first aired not long after the tragic events of 9/11. At that time, everyone was incredibly sensitive to any images of explosions, especially when they were played for laughs. But even more important was the terrifying risk that a small child, watching at home, might see the scene and try to copy it. The idea of a kid playing with gasoline and matches is a real-life nightmare. What if the most innocent sound effect in the show was hiding something absolutely filthy? Number 2. Sailor Mouth. Now we must discuss an episode that was cleverly built around a forbidden topic, Sailor Mouth. The story from Season 2 is simple and brilliant. Squidward and Patrick find a bad word written on a dumpster, and not knowing what it means, they start using it all the time, thinking it makes them sound grown up. The genius of the episode is how it handles the bad words. Every time a character is about to say a curse word, the sound is covered up by a funny dolphin squeak.
Abs is,
Do you kiss your mother with that mouth?
well, sometimes, but not recently.
It ends with a clear lesson when Mr. Krabs tells them those words are wrong, only to stub his toe and let out a string of his own bad words, hilariously bleeped by foghorns and ship bells.
Can't you see I got a out here? Oh, no, hold on. With a side of that I ain't been helping
But some people saw this clever trick as a sneaky way of teaching kids about swearing. Parent groups complained loudly, saying that even with the dolphin sounds, it was obvious what was happening and it was corrupting children's minds. But the real secret of Sailor Mouth is much darker and was hidden for years. The voice actor for SpongeBob, Tom Kenny, later revealed a shocking truth. To make their acting feel more real during the recording sessions, the actors were told to use actual real-life curse words. This means that somewhere, locked away in a deep, dark Nickelodeon vault, there is a version of Sailor Mouth with no dolphin sounds. An uncensored, foul-mouthed version of the episode actually exists. The cartoon you see is a lie. It is a carefully cleaned up copy that hides a much dirtier, more shocking original. It makes you wonder what the creators were really thinking. They were like tightrope walkers, carefully balancing on the edge of what was allowed, all while hiding their most shocking jokes behind a cute animal sound. But nothing compares to this final case, where betrayal, cruelty, and mob justice turned Bikini Bottom into a nightmare. Number 1. The Smoking Peanut. Our final case file examines an episode that was never banned, but one that explores ideas so dark and cruel, it's a miracle it ever aired. It is The Smoking Peanut from Season 2. The story begins at the Bikini Bottom Zoo. SpongeBob, trying to wake up a giant oyster, throws a peanut at it. This single thoughtless act causes the gentle giant to start crying, and it doesn't stop. Its loud, heartbreaking sobs echo throughout the town, torturing everyone. SpongeBob is eaten alive by guilt, but he is also a coward. Instead of telling the truth, he watches in silence as his best friend Patrick is wrongly accused of making the oyster cry. What happens next is terrifying. An angry mob surrounds Patrick, shouting at him, ready to hurt him for a crime he didn't commit. This episode has been criticized for years because it deals with heavy, scary ideas. It shows animal cruelty even if it was an accident. But more than that, it shows the horror of being publicly shamed, of being blamed for something you didn't do, and the terrifying power of an angry crowd. For a kids show, the story is incredibly dark. SpongeBob isn't just a silly hero who made a mistake. His actions are genuinely cruel. His cowardice leads to his best friend being terrorized. The episode's title also caused problems, with many parents wrongly thinking it was about smoking cigarettes, a huge taboo for children's TV. But the title meant the peanut was the smoking gun, the piece of evidence that proved who was guilty. This episode paints a picture of Bikini Bottom not as a happy, funny town, but as a place where fear, blame, and mob violence can explode at any moment, all because of one innocent mistake. If these were the ones they let slip through, what else is still locked inside Nickelodeon's vault? Hit like, smash subscribe, and ask yourself, was SpongeBob ever really meant for kids?